Down by the river,
down by the river,
we took a little walk.
we took a little walk.
Ran into China,
Ran into China.
we had a little talk.
Yeah, we had a little talk.
We pushed them,
Hey.
we shoved them,
Hey.
we threw them in the river.
We threw him in the river
And laughed as he drowned.
laughed as it drowned.
We don't need no commies
We don't need no commies
hanging around.
hanging around. Hey, don't be a fool.
Hey, hey.
Somebody said we were number two. Stay alive. We're number one. Go Army.
Life isn't easy for most people, especially vets. It's kind of like a rough passage for us. I mean, the things we think are supposed to go smooth, most of the time never don't. And we always find ourselves facing the uncertain, wondering if we're making the right decisions. Just the thought of transitioning out of the military comes to mind. We are trained to become subject matter experts, to know as much as we can and be 200% sure about what we know. We do our best, and usually we excel. But when it comes to making life-changing decisions, nothing prepares you for that. And then you find out that sometimes the world isn't just quite ready for you, or you're not quite ready for it. Unfortunately, some vets, they don't realize that at all until it's too late. Our road through life, it isn't always clear, even if we give off that impression, but we go through it. And we learn that there's a lot of things that have an extreme impact on us that we don't always know and see. And that's why it's considered a rough passage. We sat down with a couple students from AI. We set up the Veterans Lounge for some interviews. We wrote down many questions. In doing so, Kenny had told me that he suffered from a PTSD attack during the weekend. So I sat down with him and thought I'd interview him as well.
It's hard to describe. I guess the easiest way I can describe it is your heart start pounding and for me, my palms get real sweaty and I start fidgeting a lot. And I gotta actually leave, get up and leave. And if I stay around, it's like when it happens, usually it's like when I'm around a lot of people and I start getting hyper alert, looking for the exits, and I just gotta leave real fast and just go somewhere and try to, calm down and think of something that, that's gonna help me to calm down.
I think what happens in a war in combat, and I've never been in combat myself, so I can't, but I think you see some very horrible things, and you're probably required to do some pretty horrible things to stay alive and to accomplish the mission. And I think that changes a person.
And it's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis as far as getting through our day. Sometimes it's very hard and sometimes it can be pretty good. But in most occurrences, we can't do things that other people can do normally.
I can't be around people, and that's a fact. I really can't be around people. Just the little things annoy me. If there's too many people in the area, I get annoyed very fast. It automatically gets me paranoid. If people whispering, I instantly assume that they trying to attack me. They trying to do something to hurt me. So I'm always on the offensive. And when it comes to PTSD, it takes a toll on you because the very people that you should be trusting be the ones you be worried about the most.
But I will say certain things, normal, to make it sound normal, oh, don't grab me from behind, don't walk up too fast out of my peripheral vision, because then I'll freak out. I'll freak out, you'll end up over my shoulder, or I end up hitting you, as just a reflex. And But for the most part, I try not to let it kind of like get to me, like, or get to those around me per se, you know. So
For me, it's tough because I've lost many people in war, and I lost people at home, and I have friends now who deal with psychotic breakdowns and mental issues. Veterans everywhere suffer from PTSD, an illness that causes many veterans to commit suicide. It often leaves many veterans alert and always nervous. Many think it's the harsh conditions that we live in the modern war zone.
The kind of wars we're in, it's terrible because there's no front line. You don't even you have camaraderie, I'm sure, but it's such a chaotic experience. There's no boundaries. There's no front line, you know, and it's just a lot more stressful, I think.
I'm usually a very introverted person, so for that reason, I tend not to go to too many places. I mean, and you know, it's something that stops me from being able to do that. So I would, you know, experience it when I'm around like big crowds, or when I hear like a lot of loud noises that sound like, you know, gunshots and fireworks and things like that.
It make you second guess everything you do and everything everyone else does. And it drives you nuts after a while. It really will drive you nuts after a while.
for me, it's like I can't breathe. Like I feel like I can't breathe. I break out into like a cold sweat. In most situations, like if it's something that like really triggers it, and like I'm all the way back, you know what I mean? Then I literally just stop. I stop where I'm at, and then literally in like a quick flash, I see, you know, or like I'm reliving, like, you know, some of the experiences that like we went through as far as like getting ready for like our training or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I'm hearing all these, you know, bombs going off.
You send people to war, you send them to fight off battles, but when they come back home, you kind of just let them to live their lives and try to forget everything that they have seen, even though most of the stuff that they have gone through were pretty traumatic experiences. So it's sad to see a country that has so much pride in going in war and supporting its military.
I think the underlying issue with veterans with veterans who commit suicide is that they live in a world where they're constantly at war with themselves, and they can't win unless someone dies, and that someone is them. Like there has to be an end to all of it. And you know, they just can't take the commotion that, you know, the voices in their heads that's telling them to do things that they may or may not want to do.
It seemed that most PTSD problems were with new veterans rather than veterans from past generations. We asked Professor Martre on what he thought about post 9/11 veterans and veterans from his generation and how they both compare.
I think it's twofold. One thing is, back in the day where I came from, you know, you didn't leave your family. Whether you had marital problems or not, you stuck it out. You know, my parents and their parents stuck it out, even under some bad situations. Now it's pretty almost casual to get a divorce or to separate, or, you know, it wasn't accepted back in the day where I came from.